Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Nature Echoes on this Sunday, 16th of April, 2023. So thank you for joining me. And this is our weekly time of echoing news, stories, poetry, and art connected to nature folklore and our precious water, the holy wells, the woodlands, the hedges, the wildlife. And we've actually got a bit of summer here at Listerdannon today. So hail, hal, hole, and holy good health for you all wherever you are. And through this edition, we're going to be focusing on, let's see if I can get the pictures going. I think we're all lined up. There you go. We're going to be echoing Anna Brones, who's a writer on Substack, and she's asking, how can we create a culture of questions? And there's another Substack writer, Gillian Hess, and she's published a fascinating article about Beatrix Potter and her naturalist notes. And if I've got time, I'm going to be echoing the latest news from the remarkable Turoran Community Forest on the Isle of Mull in the Hebrides. And plus, I'm going to be with the latest as I can with the journaling nature folklore course. And that's the reason I've got Beatrix Potter's house in the background, because I think you'll love that feature. Very nice feature indeed. And what else? Yeah, as I say, it's warm here. It's our warmest day of the year so far here at Listerdannon, and I hope it's very pleasant with yourself. It's been cloudy quite a bit, but some sun came out and the cats have been out in sunning themselves, making the most of this warmth. So I better get on. I see there's one or two of you who have joined in, which is fantastic. And this Nature Echoes Live, plus the growing nature folklore video, the articles, the photo library, and the journaling nature folklore course modules, they're all brought to you due to the support of our kind subscribers. And I'm currently subscribing to Nature Folklore through that through Substack. There's the address there, and that's the link. Yeah, that's the link. Oh, is this hand better? No. I'll get this. There we go. I'll get this right one day. So there we go. That's the link anyway. And on Substack, I host a free membership, and those people, they get at least 40 nature folklore articles a year and daily short story notes, which is something Substack started up about a week ago. So we've been having a bit of fun putting those up. And the other tier that got is the support subscribers, and they're invited to take part in my journaling nature folklore course because their subscription cost pays for that anyway. And that course is 20 course modules a year, but you can join in any time because it's not a linear course. It goes around in cycles. And there's also 4 seasonal online live workshops a year that comes with that. If you're not a subscriber, as I say, it's included with the subscribers. The cost is €5 a month, or you can go for the 50% discount of €30 a year in your currency. And again, you go to that link there that I'm having a problem pointing at, and that'll ride you through it all. And so, and all our Patreon people actually receive a complimentary paid subscription on that Substack as well, and the course. So you don't pay twice. That's the idea of it, 2-for-1 deal. So thank you, subscribers, for your support. It's why I'm still here, why I can do this broadcast. And now I've got the survival pledge drive sorted. Let's see who's with us. Early Birds is with us today. At the moment, nobody's actually commenting. So I'll just carry on with the show here and hope that there is some volume and things are working. I'm just going to make sure. I know sometimes there we go. I'm just checked the microphone, and I know the microphone's going perfectly okay. So I look forward to people joining us a bit later. What I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be echoing an article by Anna Brones, writer on Substack. I got a picture of her here, I think. There she is there. And she's asking, how can we create a culture of questions? And I will post Anna's link at the end of the show. I'll put it up for you at the end of the show. And Anne suggests that we live in a culture of answers. Right now, that's the modern way of the culture of answers. And I've been saying this too for quite some time. And it seems that most of us humans, we've slid into this. since the social media culture took off around 2006. But today there's always someone, have you noticed? I find this quite a common thing now. There's always someone eager to assertively share a piece of advice with us. And people, they affirm a life-changing tip onto us of something we should be doing, and it's as if people seem to prescribe to us, don't they? I think this has happened so much since the social media got going in 2006. People talk to us as if they're prescribing stuff to us, prescribing our path forwards. And sometimes I feel that social media has turned all of us into self-help book, self-help, yeah, I suppose that's a good term, self-help book authors. And they express, I've been on social media, so I can express an image of being well-educated and informed. So we can unknowingly, and I'm guilty of this, of becoming very prescriptive through our communications with others. We may say, oh, you must read this, or you must try this hard-to-pronounce plant that I've been trying that comes from the Amazon. Or you may go to Shaman Mahavaplan, who has earned top honors on a weekend online course that he or she attended 5 years ago. And to me, these past 15 years, at least a lot of conversation, it seems to have gone more into sort of formulaic advice, asserting very simplified template solutions. I suppose solutions is the right word. I don't use that one word that often but to me, the past 15 years, there's been a lot of conversation, as I say, on this. And it may not just be social media influence, but the acceleration of our age of convenience. And as we now crave and we believe that even the most complex of ideas, I think we can break these down into small, digestible components. And most of us, including myself, we tend to read a summary of an article, don't we? And then we move on rather than actually read the article. There's a sort of a time thing there, I suppose. And I know I have a habit. There's an online newspaper, Irish Journal News. And I, like many people, I tend to read the headline and then go straight to the comments because the comments can be hilarious. But it's silly going to the comments if you haven't read the news article. And you do feel a bit silly when you read some of the comments and you haven't read the article. Anyway, but we may regard ourselves experts of news reports just by reading the headline and then using our imagination of what comes next. That's how we think things are formulated, I think. But to me, it seems today we may be more obsessed with solutions and answers than ever before. And we want these solutions and answers fast. We don't want people to explain how they got to a conclusion. We just want to know the last few words of the report, the bottom line thing. And I believe that so much of our souls and spirits have been lost as we now have impatience, and we seem to have a fear of digging into the wider wonder of questions. And I feel it's a waste, I think we feel it's a waste of time putting attention into spaces. We ask a question, but it tempts us to go into spaces of the unknown. I think we've built up a bit of a fear of this as well, because we want that quick solution pill. It's like having an instant meal to avoid going into the kitchen and the garden and making up the meal. Although I know there's a lot of people who watch this who, like me, who actually enjoy the kitchen and putting a proper meal together. But my life question tends to be, how can we recreate a culture of questions? That's the question in this first echo. And after all, it was a culture of questions that actually invented all that we use today for convenience. And so today's impatience, I think it turns into anger sometimes when people, when we get fed up with people asking questions. Some people do. I don't mind. I'm in the business of trying to answer questions or giving insights anyway. But a lot of the people who ask them a question will say, Google's your friend. Go and do your own research. And I think that can be awfully intimidation upon many people, because it makes people feel stupid for even daring to ask a question. And I encourage questions when we have the tree labyrinth, the labyrinth garden. And that was the thing I said, go around the labyrinth with a question, not trying to find an answer. And these are among the reasons why I have worked with prompts and folk drama since I was a child, for many generations, and much before there was social media. And I always believe that we need to keep our senses and visions of wonder constantly alive and let the answers and solutions look after themselves, not us trying to manufacture us or take some magic pill. So actually, I don't believe in answers anyway. To me, anything that we call an answer is just a gateway to 100 or more questions. Do you find that? So I think we deny ourselves of the questions, though, unfortunately. But I have the Journaling Nature Folklore course going now, and I hope that cultivates us to honor a place within the unknown and enjoy all that wonders, and then also to learn how to move forward through our questions and realizing there isn't a single answer. We really enjoy the wholesomeness of the questions. It's great to be in a place that requires us to sit for a while. It's kind of one of those smell the roses situations, and we cloak ourselves in that space with a sense of wonder. And if we have the courage to go back to do that for a period of time, that's where I believe is the space that our creativity thrives. It's where all the most beautiful things come to us. And in my mind, what a creative prompt is something that sparks a question. It doesn't provide an answer. It encourages you to follow a question. Now, that's something that challenges to actually enter into a place of curiosity and actually enjoy the visions and creative flow that comes from such a place. And I think it's really lovely when a prompt from an unknown space sets up parameters that when we get together, we can have a really robust discussion about the visions we had, the questions that we've got. And through such a discussion, we find that a prompt that we're working on, that we have a wonder, that we have a curiosity with, it travels into a space of creativity, into some shareable structure where it can really thrive amongst people who can sort of add to the pool of that wonder, rather than try and prescribe everyone in a conversation. And I think that structure actually generates focus. So we want our delightful visions to actually become clearer. And that goes back to when I was visiting ancient sites. Before I was even 10 years old, I used to get together with my friends. Look, this is where I've been. This is the story I've heard. These are the characters. What do you think of that character? What do you think? Let's try and act them out and see how we interact. That's how I got into this folklore stuff. And really, I think that going into wonder, going into curiosity, what we're really doing is going back into more of an analog life, because all these things digital, they're constantly distracting us, aren't they? Everything we pick up the devices, even me doing this broadcast, it's all digital. And when we go digital, information is absolutely limitless. It's always at our fingertips. And after just, we can be in a group conversation, and just after one sentence, someone's got a phone that rings, and you get this situation, and the message, it's got a message, a social post notification that starts pinging. And suddenly that phone on the thing that goes ping is getting the priority over the discussion that you started with a sentence with. And then another digital alarm goes off. So you've got all this digital information coming in and out, but there's no focus, there's no wonder, there's no sort of cycle of focus at all. Now, there's a couple of lads that you've probably heard of these people. Here we have, that really goes back. That goes back into 1974. Do you recognize these two people, especially the man on the right? That's Brian Eno on the right and Peter Schmidt on the left. And they produced what they call the Oblique Strategies card deck. That was way back in 1974. And it's actually still available, and it's still very popular today. And sometimes for a busy day, I think when I had groups visit in Karakrori, and even when I meet with groups, one thing people love to do is pull a card. You know, there's a card deck. Someone's always got a card deck. It may be tarot, it may be Bridget cards, it may be astrology tree cards, all kinds of different card decks these days. And we like to pull them up as prompts. And people actually, when they start the day, especially in a group situation, that's what seems to set the focus and sets the focus on the decisions and choices made that day. So for most of us, I think when we pull a card from a tarot style deck, the imagery prompt of that card, it does feel very potent, doesn't it? I'd like to hear your comments on that, if you use cards at all. So, and pulling a card, it's as if it's something very special. It doesn't matter what your opinion is on divination. Oh, that's just old rubbish. That's from 19th century Celtic romance. We still have this feeling that that card we pick a card, is very special. I hope you agree with the one. And so what we got there with Brian Eno and Schmidt, their intent was to create a card deck of prompts. And it was really designed for artists who wanted to use them, to give them prompts to get their creativity juices going. And as I say, this was pre-internet, 1974. And artists they saw the importance of inspiration prompts, especially if there was obstacles in front of their creativity. And I feel that pulling a card or even using a prompt, this is why I do journaling nature folklore, and bring this into it with prompts. I don't use cards yet. We may have a card set, but it's much better to do that, I feel, pull a prompt, reflect on a prompt, than trying to read something to get the creativity going. I feel that reading is linear, but prompts are more like bringing waves in from another dimension, and they're not straightforward, not straight at all. How this Eno Schmidt deck came about is Peter Schmidt, his partner there, he'd actually been on a project where he did 64 drawings. I haven't got any pictures of these, but he did 64 drawings based on the I Ching, if you're familiar with the I Ching Book of Changes book. I haven't got the photo up of that. But the Ancient Divination Manual, the I Ching book, it was very much the rage. Some of you might remember very much the rage in 1968 to about 1974. So Schmidt got onto, well, he was inspired by John Cale. Let's see if I can get a John Cale picture up here. No, that's the two of them. Oh, there you go. That's the card deck, the Oblique Strategies. So you can read a bit there. They're very tight on their copyright. I couldn't find any pictures of the actual card deck, and it's years since I had one myself. I had one in the 80s. So I can't tell you what they're asking, so I can't show an example. But some of you probably already got this, and you may well use it. But this is a John Cale cover of John Cale, formerly of Velvet Underground, and then got involved in the Portsmouth Symphonia. I think he was in the Symphonia at the time this card deck came out. And he actually brought an album out that was actually called The Music of Changes, and he used the I Ching symbols there. Now, Brian Eno, he called Schmidt's drawings as aphorisms, and that translates out as things that creative people want to remember when they're focused within creative situations. Let's try that again. Amorphisms. Creative people want to remember when focused within creative situations. Anyway, I move on. One of the card deck quotes inspired by, and I love this, and I remember this one: honor thy error as a hidden intention. Honor thy error as a hidden intention. So what the card deck reminded me at the time was pulling a card from a seemingly magical divination deck that has a special kind of magic to it. And that's much more magic, I feel, taken from the card deck than just staring at a list of ideas and trying to tape your list of ideas together. There's absolutely no soul, I think. There's no soul in lists whatsoever. We feel organized, but there's no real creative soul in that. So I'm sharing this as this is some of the motivation that I share with subscribers within the Journaling Nature Folklore course. because the Journaling Nature Folklore course isn't a linear instruction course, but is a cycle course of prompts that goes through every solar year. And it's as if each module I'm pulling a card for you. And each of those cards has several prompts to help you pull your own cards from your own prompts, your own visions. They don't have to be paper cards. They're things that you'll actually see around you. You'll understand it if you do the course. Anyway, I'm going to leave you there for now and come back to that subject another time. As I said, I will link you to Anna Broner's Substack site and website in the comments after I complete the show. And Anna, she's actually a beautiful... oh, that's John Cale there. We ought to show you that. Yeah, John Cale with a cat. Now you'll love him to death because he's a cat person. Anyway, that's Anna's, one of Anna's drawings. She actually, that was in a film, used in a film, because she gets a lot of her drawings into the backgrounds of dramas and films on the when they build the sets there. Fabulous. Anyway, a lot of you have started to comment. I've been blabbing a while. Let's see what people are saying here. We got Terry Stag Hardwick here, tuning a few minutes late from rural Maryland. Lovely to see you. And there we have good afternoon. Over the half door there is that's wonderful. Young fella from the hills there. I'm going to be brain starting a good brain fuzzy there. What we got here? Good afternoon again. Bert Wadstock's here. Many people I know swore by the I Ching. Oh boy, wasn't that huge? I mean, everybody's noticed from the late 60s, early 70s. It's as if they had a Hawkwind LP under one arm and the I Ching under another. So that's wonderful. Yeah, definitely. Let's see. There's one or two other people around here, just keeping this flow going. I think. Okay, I think I got some of the messages here. Here we go. Well, a lovely person from coming in from the YouTube watching on the telly. Thanks for a ton for the teaching. Well, as I say, that was a bit of mine, and that was a bit of Anna's teachings there from Substack, Anna Brones. And I'll give the links at the end of the show there. Yeah, I think I've covered that there. Now, the main thing here, it's another Substacker, the second one. And as I say, that's what I got in the background. There's a Beatrix Potter. This is absolutely a lovely presentation. And I'm going to do something I don't think I've done before. Well, I have, can't remember who I did it with. Where it's entirely someone else's creation. All I do is put the thing up on the screen. And but this is from a woman, a very prolific Substack writer. She's got a huge following, Gillian Hess. And this week, I'm echoing a fascinating article about Beatrix Potter and her naturalist notes. And it's beautifully done. And Gillian, she was exploring the secret language of Beatrix Potter's journaling notes. And you may be familiar that Beatrix Potter lived from 1866 to 1943. And one of the things that's quite intriguing, and I don't know if I do this in journaling, but I've seen people do this in journaling. But what Beatrix invented, because when you're journaling, you're racing to get your emotions, your visions and down. And if you use your regular language, that can be sometimes quite impossible. You need a shorthand. And Beatrix invented a cipher, an own language to write a journal. And it was a code that was so well crafted that after she passed away, it took years for scholars to actually crack Beatrix Potter's code, a ciphering code. And you may be well familiar that before she got on to Peter Rabbit, etc., she studied mushrooms She used to go with started with a family up into Scotland. Beautiful place, and how can there's a museum there. I'm sort of forgetting exactly where it is. Drumkeld. But Burnham, is it? It's two little villages together, Burnham and Dunkeld. The Scottish biggest, oldest oak is there for one. But there she studied mushrooms. She did her first drawings of mushrooms, and she started as a child, 9 years old. She called them fairy fungi. As some of us still do now, don't we? And I've got a computer seized up here. It's not only me seizing up, it's the computer is seizing up as well. Hey, let's see. Hang on, you might be losing me. I'm trying to get myself back. Hang on. I'm rescuing the show because both computers have frozen up. Let's see if I can get going again. Here we go. Right, we're moving. Everything frozen. We're moving again. Anyway, she tried to sedate her pet rabbit, and she sedated her pet rabbit with hemp seeds. Because she wanted to draw this rabbit and it wouldn't stay still. But of course, what happened when she fed him hemp seeds? He started dancing around and got very high and totally uncontrollable. So I think I've got let's see, I got something to illustrate there. There's Beatrix Potter in her old day. But there we go, if I can get that going. No, that's the ciphering. That's it. No, anyway, I'm going to go back. We're going to, right. No, I'm lost on that one. Anyway, as spring arrived in New York, Gillian thought it was the perfect time to actually talk about Beatrix Potter's naturalist notes. And in 1952, a relation of Beatrix Potter found a large bundle of loose sheets and exercise books that were in this cipher writing that I was talking about. And that was Potter's journal, which she kept from 1881 to 1897. And it was a secret diary. She kept it hidden. She had it in a code that people couldn't read. And she intensely kept it secret. So she had this coded language, which was very difficult to solve. But it was a scholar called Leslie Linder, and she kept on and on. And after about 10 years, she cracked it. And so this is the code. That was the early pictures I showed you. There we go. It's too small for you to make head to tail of that. But here's a line from it. And what on earth is going on there? But that was Beatrix Potter's language there. And she tried from. Anyway, this is a close-up of, that's a close-up of the journal. And this is what Linda discovered. And she's got the various coded symbols next to the letters. And that was her decoding. Very, very clever. It took about 10 years to get that together. And in her old age, even Beatrix Potter herself struggled with her own language, a bit like the brain deadness I'm going through at the moment. So she admitted it. And she said, in her own words, I used to write long-winded descriptions, hymns, and records of conversation, which I'm now unable to read, even with a magnifying glass, because I'm going to talk about that later. Beatrix Potter never went anywhere without a magnifying glass. And she depended on magnifying glasses and microscopes. So she'd always, if she had a backpack or a bag, there'd always be the microscope always with her. I mean, not microscope, the magnifying glass, and quite often the microscope be coming along with her as well. And her eyesight wasn't that great. It did decline. And so she did need these tools, the microscope and the magnifying glass, to actually explore nature's intricate details, because she was forever collecting specimens for study. And caterpillars, she loved caterpillars. I think before she got into the fungi, she was drawing caterpillars from 9 years old. And I've got something from her sketchbook, her earliest sketchbook here. Is that right? No, that's it. That's it. There we go. There's something from her earliest sketchbook, early teens, I think. It's from the V&A Museum. They have a collection of this stuff. A lot of these pictures I'm showing you has come from the V&A Museum. But even Potter's notebook for history lessons, um, she was at school doing history. What was her history books doing? Pressing plants, pressing ferns. Here's an example of what was going on there. And that's one of her school books, and she's pressing ferns there. And that's actually not from the V&A. That's actually in the house behind 1879. That's that house behind the museum, and that's where you'll find that pressed ferns. Anyway, as Beatrix's journal progressed, they became increasingly enchanted with the fairy fungi that she said, she calls them. And she also wrote about the tiny fungi people who she described as singing and bobbing along and dancing in the grass and whistling too. And of course, the fairy of the fungi, nobody could hear the whistle. Dogs can maybe. And she said that stray mice and bats could hear it as well. Anyway, Potter had learned the language of fungi through understanding the fairy fungi, and she then went on to try and make a career of that. Mushrooms then became the fascination after the caterpillars, so she got into the fungi now, and she loved their beauty, but the mystery of her that she was carrying is, how do fungi and mushrooms reproduce themselves? Because science hadn't really established that yet in her time. Scientists hadn't come to any consensus on how fungi reproduce themselves. And Potter believed that the spores, must be down to the spores, that when they scatter, they germinate and form new mushrooms. So this is where the microscope came out. She acquired her first microscope in 1896. And the first thing she put under it was not caterpillars, but the spores of these fungi. And she drew them in incredible micro detail. And she did this, it's recorded that between 1894 and 1895, she had completed 73 very intricate fungi drawings. And I think I got something here. This is an example here. Though the uncolored spores there, they've fallen from the central mushroom in the image. This actually comes from the Armit Library, wherever that is, where that drawing comes from. But anyway, going forward into June 1896, Beatrix Potter, she visited her mentor, George Massey, at Kew Gardens, and he showed her mushrooms drawings. And her mentor actually showed some mushrooms that he'd been growing under glass. So it was a big mushroom talk. And he boasted that one of those mushrooms under the glass had spores on them that were 3 inches long. So Beatrix replied and said, "Well, of course they are. They're turning into mushrooms." So Potter's biographer, Linda Lear, she explains that the young naturalist Beatrix, she never ever saw art and science as being separate studies. She saw that as all mutually inclusive studies together. Beatrix enjoyed the challenge that mushrooms posed both artistically and scientifically, and she regarded it all as being one. So in April 1897, Beatrix submitted on paper, she submitted a paper about fungi, and it was titled "On the Germination of the Spores of Agricinia." She sent it off to the Linnean Society, because the society, unfortunately, prohibited women from presenting their work. So she got a friend, Massey, from the Kew Gardens, to read it to the society instead. Now, the Linnean Society, even though a man was there, Massey, presenting the evidence to them, they totally rejected the paper. But in a way, it's just as well they did, because, she went into a science. That was her career in botany, in intricate botany, especially regarding mycology. And that was down the drain. But all was not lost, because for us, that was a stroke of good fortune, because if they had accepted the paper, Beatrix Potter might have never turned her energies to creating those beautiful illustrated stories that we all love. And we'd never seen the invention of her enchanted characters like Peter Rabbit and Jemima Puddle Duck and Nutkin, amongst all of the others. And of course, Beatrix Potter, she owned the pet rabbit I mentioned. She called her pet rabbit Benjamin Bouncer, or Bounce for short. And wanting to draw bouncers, I think I mentioned this already, she gave the poor rabbit, unsuspecting rabbit, a cup full of hemp seeds in an attempt to sedate him. And the result was that he was partially intoxicated, totally unmanageable. So she just could not draw him. But as was her custom, Potter drew sketches. She kept continuing to draw sketches. I mean, the paper, the rejection didn't put her off. She carried on doing her intricate sketches of wildlife to understand the natural world, because that was her main motivation and main vision of life. And the following sketches, they helped Potter to create her most famous character, Peter Rabbit. So there we go. I think I've got that there. No, those are some of her intricate drawings in her report. There we go. There's the first drawings of Peter Rabbit. That's from the V&A Museum. Those are the first rabbit drawings. And Peter Rabbit came into being when Potter's friend's son Noel, he fell sick. And Beatrix, accustomed to writing letters, not in words, but in pictures to her children friends, decided that in order to help him get a little bit better, she sent Noel a story about 4 rabbits, and the 4 rabbits were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. And so she started off, I think I've got the letter here. Let's see if I've got that. Yeah, there's the letter. This is the letter that she sent Noel. My dear Noel, I don't know what to write to you, so I shall tell you a story about 4 little rabbits whose names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. And they lived with their mother in the sandbank under the roof of a big fir tree. So, sorry. Now, it was not such a big step for Potter to I'm putting this the writer's words. I'm quoting this from Jesse. To anthropomorphize animals in the stories. Anthropomorphize animals in the stories. But Beatrix had long been writing animals as human-like creatures in her journal that she kept, in her coded journal. In 1886, for instance, she wrote about the death of Miss Mouse. And she was very distressed because Miss Mouse had been so sensible about taking medicine, and she thought the Miss Mouse would recover. But unfortunately, the mouse got asthma one night, and she died, poor little thing. But as Potter prepared to illustrate a cast of animal characters, she would practice drawing the animals as real animals that she'd seen in real life, and made pages and pages of sketches before they turned into a more cartoony character that we're familiar with today. Here's an example here. These are the mice, I think. Yeah, look at that, all these different doodles she did of mice to get to eventually the mice that she would have put into her books. And that, as you can tell, as you go through those mice sketches, what do we get evolving there? We got eventually the creation of the Tailor of Gloucester and the tale of the 2 bad mice. But while working with, when she was working on the tale of Pigling Bland, Potter did admit that, as Pigling Bland here, I did get very wet inside the pigsty trying to draw the pig, It tried to nibble at my boots, which was very interrupting. So these are Potter sketches from that pig. This is from 1910. And those sketches, they're actually of a real pig that was nibbling at her boots, as she said. But it transformed into, the pig transformed into more Potter draft illustrations. And we got something like this, which is Pigling Bland and Pigwig from the Tale of Pigling Bland from the art. And that's taken from a book that is The Art of Beatrix Potter that I think is in the V&A. And she also studied squirrels. There's some squirrels while preparing the Tale of Squirrel Nutkin. That drawing is from 1903 from The Art of Beatrix Potter. And this is the book. That's the final book. That is the book there. And so that's Squirrel Nutkin. Let's get going here. That's there. Now, these creations allow Beatrix Potter to bring some of her childhood imagination into her adult pursuits as well. And unfortunately, that journal I showed you examples, that specially coded journal, she actually stopped writing those before she was 30 years old. And one of the final entries that lingers from that, from the spirit world of childhood, she describes it as a kind of heaven that brought her into adulthood. And she said, I remember I used to half believe and wholly play with fairies when I was a child. And she feels that heaven can be more real if you can retain the spirit world of childhood, and doing that in a way where it's balanced with knowledge and common sense. In other words, she said, belief in the fairies is our way to knowledge and common sense. So I think we can learn from Beatrix Potter journaling notes. These are the things I think we can learn from that. Is to never depend on precise English or native language. Find your own cipher language, build your own cipher language, because Potter's notes, they're written in the kind of cipher, as I've shown, and only the journal writer can fully understand them. And we may think, well, how do you do that? And if you think about it, if you start jotting things down and you're more focused on your visions, we all have phrases and terms that carry specific meanings, and nobody else knows what the hell we're talking about. And no one seems to understand what we're going on about sometimes, especially if we use abbreviations that no one else can pass. Now, add to that, some of us also have, me included, illegible handwriting. So we can take that into consideration too. Only we can read our own handwriting. The other second point to learn from Beatrix Potter is always take a magnifying glass. I know there are magnifying glass apps on the phone, but see if you can take a real magnifying glass out with you. And I mean that literally and metaphorically, because all sorts of wonders surround us. As Beatrix found, the tiny mushroom spores, there's butterfly wings, bird's nests. All these things create more wonder and more vision if we got that magnifying glass and we're looking at them. And Beatrix Potter's sketches, I think they show how she studied the subjects, how she really got involved with the mushrooms, the mice, the cats, the rabbits, the squirrels. And she looked at all these with a magnifying glass in various angles. So I think she approached the writing in that way as well. As I say, she had her ciphering, she had her own language. But when it came to the writing, yeah, she did sort of detach herself a bit, because she said to her friend, I polish, right up to the last revision. So she was, Potter was very fastidious as a line editor. And she would spend a long time. If you like me, editing is the toughest thing to do. But Beatrix Potter, she thrived on that as well. She could always look over and over again at the punctuation, the exclamation marks, and semicolons. She loved exclamation marks and semicolons and use them where she can. I tend to use the 3 dots a lot. Anyway, these are points, those 3 points that I think we can learn from Beatrix Potter, from what I've said in that echo. I'll repeat them through my journaling nature folklore course from time to time, and especially when we gather for the live workshop, the first one for journaling nature folklore, which is on the 2nd of May. So it's coming up very soon. You do leave the fastidious part to the very end, so you don't want to lose the wholesomeness of your visions. Anyway, one more thing, and I did say it, is keep believing in the fairies, because that's where the common sense comes from. So thank you to the wonderful Gillian Hess. Pretty much all that presentation, that was joking and larking around, was direct from her writing. And I'm going to leave you her link, all those illustrations that I showed you through that presentation about Beatrix Potter. That's what Gillian collected together. I didn't put anything of that together. Gillian, it's all thanks to Gillian Hess that collected those together for that. And she is a very popular Substack writer, and I think you can see why by what I shared with you just now. So I'm going to link to her Substack site in the comments. I haven't got any photos of her. She keeps herself. She's a bit Beatrix Potter in her own way. Is she keeps her her photos very private. I did find one photograph about 5 minutes before I came on the air, so I might put that up a bit later. Anyway, let's see what you're saying before I go on to the next. I've been on for 46 minutes. Oh, goodness, I've got glasses on anyway. And then learned a lot from wonderful info. Beatrix Potter, the images are great. Thanks, Terry. And there's Breezy has got something. I'm loving your ramblings today. Breezy Kelly is getting our hearts lifted. Wonderful. I know you can relate to a lot of that, I think, Breezy. That's wonderful. Let's see, Terry's got something else here. Potter's Code I thought was very cool. Did you know about the hem? I did not know about the hem dog bunnies. I didn't until I read that from Jess's report there. Brilliant. And there's setting intentions is no bad thing. That's the way. Breezy certainly has to set up intentions each day. And I would say using prompts is a big thing, especially when Breezy gets into the baking. That's one of the things. The baking for peace is definitely all kinds of things from prompt there. I know even in the Steiner schools that people come in and they do a bit of baking. And when they actually put yeast amongst the flour, there's rivers that flow, there's hills that form. There's all kinds of stories that come together when you're baking bread. Even if you're using sourdough, if you've made up a sourdough starter, you've got all this all marshy and sticky bits, and there's all sorts of stories that come out of that. Any more that we got here? Okay, I'm really gone way over time. So really, I don't think I have time for the third one. I was going to echo the latest news about the remarkable Toronto. Excuse me, I will have to take filling on the throat here. I was going to talk about the latest news from the remarkable Toronto community forest on the Isle of Mull in the Hebrides, right slap bang where we used to live as a family. But I wanted to give this feature some quality, so I'm not going to rush to do that now. I'm going to fit the echo in next Monday, because I'm also launching the first of the trees, Us and Trees series. Going to launch my first article in my Us and Trees series next Sunday, right after the show. So I think it'll be really fitting to leave you, move that to next week about the Toronto Community Forest. So I thought I saw some more bubbling in comments coming up here. I'm just trying to see, did I miss something? Someone said something. Yes. Oh, there we go. It's Breezy again. The smell of freshly baked bread is the aroma of peace. Sylvia Nadachavia. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that. Excellent to sum that one up. And now for the Journaling Nature Folklore course, I'm posting the next module themed on prompts around the cherry blossom and its legends. The last one was willow. That's going to go up on tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. And I got to finish it up tomorrow. I've just got to put a few more pictures with it. So I'll get that course module up for you tomorrow for those who are on it. And then on the 6th of May, I will post our first summer module, which is prompts around the hawthorn. So it's a lovely synthesis going from the cherry to the hawthorn. You'll understand when you get the two modules and you'll get the various prompts. But the big event, 2nd of May, Tuesday, 2nd of May, that's going to be the first Journaling Nature Folklore workshop. I've actually invested in an upgrade. I use StreamYard for this broadcasting, but the platform, the way the platform is here, it's not really suitable for doing a proper workshop. So I've upgraded to a better platform and it's much better than Zoom. And I think you'll like it. And I'm going to do the workshop on that new upgrade. And I hope you can join me with this workshop. It's included in your subscription if you're a subscriber, those of you who are paid. But if you haven't, for everyone else, there's a link again. It's €5 a month, or if you want a 50% discount, go straight for the €30 a year. And that'll get you in on this workshop. And there's going to be 4 workshops a year. But this Belgian one is going to be the first one. And that's how I can pay for the upgrades of service, so I can deliver this to you. I've got the workshop all set up, all the sort of framework of it, but I will get the info and registration details out to you from Tuesday onwards, and I hope you'll join in on this. It is a pilot one, but I think it will still be a lot of fun, a good crack, and hopefully very helpful to understand what the Journaling Nature Folklore course is about, and we'll have an exchange and build more up around that. As I say, tomorrow I want to get the next course module completed and uploaded for you, because tomorrow is when it's scheduled. I've got a few photo editing bits to do. So any other questions? Amy Dixon should arrive. I hope you'll enjoy from the beginning, going on about getting back into a culture of questions, and then a lovely Beatrix Potter journaling approach. And it helps us with our Journaling Nature Folklore. But there's Beatrix Potter, before there was internet, doing all this in a beautiful way. So thank you for watching Nature Echoes through this afternoon, evening. A little bit more to share. And if you enjoy what we share here live through the Nature Folklore, I've said about subscribing so you can get onto the workshop. It's optional, but it's nice if you can join in on the workshop for the Belgian one on the 6th of May. It's a Tuesday. And also to get onto the course modules anyway. But if you go for the free, just sign up on the free tier, you'll get at least 40 articles a year. And now, from last week, now the Substack has brought on notes. I'm actually posting a little short story. It's a 1 or 2 minute read. I'm doing that daily, just about. I've managed it so far. But if you do subscribe, you get the 20 modules, Journaling Nature Folklore a year. And that includes 4 live online workshop seminars a year. And the nice thing, whether you go for free or for the paid, there's no adverts, totally free from adverts. And you're not get algorithms that are going to follow you around everywhere. There's no algorithm pollution on Substack at all. Anyway, thank you, because the support subscriptions actually keep this Nature Echo show afloat and funds other things to do on the side, such as the Holy Wells Revival. So, coming up next Sunday, as I say, I will be doing a bit more woody stuff. The community forest, that's included, and I imagine the other 2 echoes will be running along those themes. So there we go. Who have we got here? Someone saying something. Another wonderful episode. Thank you, Terry. Appreciate that a lot. I've enjoyed sharing those 2 echoes from 2 lovely Substack authors, which I'll, in a moment, I'll get those links up for you to see who they are. And if you're watching this after the show, I hope you enjoy the replay, especially if you're on the YouTube, keep posting your comments and questions. I say, let's get questions culture going here as an example. And I do check the comments from time to time and see what I can say to help you along there. Click the bell icon on YouTube if you're using the YouTube. That'll remind you what's coming up on Nature Echoes next Sunday. So enjoy a safe week full of wonder, inspirations, and enchantments that comes along with the presence of water, woods, and the mysteries of nature. So until next Sunday, I trust you'll all have a great time. Play well, live well. Get the not the microscope, not the bring the magnifying glass with you and see what photos you come up with this. So I think that's all I've got for today, and I've gone well over time again. So thank you very much for hanging on. It's been beautiful. Thank you very much. I'll say bye-bye to you now. Bye.